Hello everyone. VBT Consortium is one of the earliest architectural practices in the city of Bangalore, and we handle a very diverse portfolio of large-scale residential apartments. We do master planning projects, IT parks, sports facilities, among many other kind of sectors which we work with. And today we're very happy and we welcome RedThread team to VBT Consortium. Welcome guys. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to introduce you all to our principal architects. We have architect Anand here. He's one of our principal architects, and architect Neelaksh Mahajan.
Hello.
And I'm architect Rajini Itham, and I'm the studio head here.
Architecture is what we create. When we create something, it is something nice, something beautiful. It's something new for us. So that's what architecture is all about for us. Is what we create. I think our young man here can be able to give a little bit more insight into.
Okay, for us, I think architecture is more, it's the only discipline which is largely draws its inspiration from art, but has the component of technicality to it. So it's not pure, visualization, but ultimately it sees the light of the day where people actually live, their lives get changed thereafter. So therefore, it's a very integral, piece in everybody's life. The space is what you create.
Well, so I think, at least for myself, and I'm talking for Anand sir as well, we both come from a building industry and architectural background. So this was a natural course of action for us. So once we have entered this field, once I started doing architecture, then of course, then I got exposed to a myriad other facets of architecture. It is not just about building and space. I think it is more like a philosophy. It is a philosophy of life. It is interconnected with various aspects of the living world. And I think that is what fascinates me to architecture.
We are hardcore people who still do everyday design practice on butter sheets, and we still very fond of our drafting boards and
pencils.
And we believe that nothing can move faster than our hands.
So what I would like to add in is we really believe in the hand-eye coordination, through sketching as an architectural practice. And that is something which we wish even other young architects would appreciate that.
They need to do that. Because then only I think it comes from inside them.
Yes. I think from beginning, I would say VBT always has believed in a concept-based approach. So what happens is, what starts off as a germ of an idea, which could be inspired from anywhere. It could be just a thought. It could be from art. It could be from nature. It could be from anywhere. But what has inspired the concept is actually taken through the entire design process. If it starts as an inception till the final buildable, workable solution, that becomes a part of the design process. Also, I'd like to add here that of late, because we see a lot of commerce-driven developments of late, we see architecture getting commoditized, as a saleable space, let us say. So what we have done in most of our recent projects, we have also included something called integrated branding as a part of architecture and design. So branding and marketing can never work in isolation when you're thinking of any product. So when we're talking about architecture as a space which is saleable, we have realized as architects, we would actually be able to do justice by including that as a part of the design process.
See, earlier when we were working at, architecture was pure technical. The kind of jobs we were doing were more industrial, sports, and stadiums and things like that. And beyond a certain period, it started becoming more commercial, as Rajini was saying. And today, at every given point of time, we still had a concept, which drove the whole philosophy. But in the process, what has happened now is that with this branding, what VBT does is that most of the projects when we are designing, we have a concept, but eventually the concept doesn't see the light of the day because, it gets taken away from the builder.
It gets diluted in the process.
So we took a stand there saying that we will do branding, we started naming the projects, we started doing the architectural language, the landscape, the interiors, that's why
based on the concept.
Based on the concept. So therefore the integrated branding emerged, and today we also have the graphics team within in-house, so that we give that as a design idea. Later clients can employ their own graphic teams and stuff like that, but eventually the idea was to see that what we have originally thought of becomes the light of the day. He is having close to about 40 years of experience, and I am having almost about 20 years of experience, and she's also having experience of 20 years. So whenever we are working on the design, let us say if I come up with a certain team comes up with a concept, ideology, or whatever is there, his mind process or thought process automatically goes back to that it has to be buildable.
Yes.
Because that's the
That
how
is how
his mind has been trained.
Yeah, that is how the cycle has to follow.
Yeah. So yeah, we may come up with something very funny, and then there's a controlling body which says, "Look here, dude, this cannot come up further," and then you cannot have columns projecting out to no end. And then she, being studio head, she understands what are the coordination issues with various consultants and understands from the various other perspectives, and also control, because she masters in landscape, so she will look into that stuff as well. So as a firm, as partnership, what we exist today is a very dynamic composition. It's like basically a young versus not relatively so old, I would say, but
Senior.
senior. But
Yes.
it's a very interesting mix where we stay grounded, but we can still fly. One, of course, the client has to play a very important role in terms of architects to do what they want. But then, obviously, that we are having this whole design process which we come into. But as a firm, to answer your question, is that we do not like to be prototyped in any particular architecture field. Currently, or any point of time, we are always engaged in various types of design assignments.
Social media is a part of any business model, whether it's at the student stage or whether in practice. And social media has at least helped us reach a larger audience.
Yes.
Has helped us connect to various design dialogues across the globe.
We reach different groups of people.
Yes, exactly.
Which never ever reached.
Yes.
See, referencing, what would happen is, yes, in terms of, it happens in two ways. One is that it's not me who's doing the study. Let us say the client is also doing the study. So what happens is the client has already seen something, or he's traveled, or he's seen through net. So he would say, okay, fine, look here, what do you feel about this? Probably I would like something like this. So that way references comes into the picture. And yeah, it somewhere helps because I'm not shooting in the dark anymore. I know what the client's sensibilities are and what he expects out of a design. So from there, the journey becomes a lot easier.
The way I would say it, at least it keeps all of us abreast of global developments.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're no longer limited.
Yeah.
You're no longer limited to whatever is happening within your 5-kilometer, 10-kilometer radius. You're abreast of global architectural languages, new technological developments, new materials available, and then you see how you can make it a part of your architectural practice.
All this immediately.
I would say what we do is that we probably refer architectural masterpieces. And that's where the first referencing starts.
Timeless.
See, Lee Cabos here has done quite a bit of work in here in this time. Sometimes in the architectural language which we had some earlier, we used to refer Paul Rudolph, Oscar Nemia, then Mies van der
Mies,
Rohe.
of course.
So there are so many people because they are innovations, they are, what is it called?
It's
Their
timeless
design,
also.
Design sense. It will sometimes teach you, sometimes you get caught in some of your buildings, suddenly you'll be breaking ahead to get into some log jam which you want to unravel. You just go through all these fellows. They would have gone about some innovative ideas. The only thing we have to take it and relate it to the modern thing along with technology and materials.
See, basically our office functions on, like I said, that we are a mid-sized firm, and that's by choice. With the kind of portfolio we have, we can grow to any extent which we want, but we've chosen not to do that. Now, the reason we've chosen to stay like that because we want to enjoy the architecture what we design and not make it as a stress factor. Oh, is the drawing gone? Or is the coordination happen? That's not how we operate. And largely, the firm as a core, we are totally a team of between 25 to 30 people, including the technical and non-technical staff. The core is about 15 people, which has been together for almost about 15 to 20 years. And so our company basically does not have an attrition on that front. Then we have trainees and we have architects who have about 3 to 4 years experience, and then either they get relocated or they get married and things like that. But even to our staff, ideally, we give them as about 2 assignments, which they are accountable for, not more than that. We believe that they should also be mentally free to produce quality stuff drawing, not just churn out drawings that whatever we say. So we have pretty easy paced design practice.
Also, I think I want to emphasize one more point here is that we do not want to make this a very impersonal practice.
Yeah.
So though both of them are principal architects, very senior in their line and very eminent in this field, and I'm here as a studio head. We make sure that this is a very hands-on approach. So whatever the project and whatever the criticality, all three of us are involved in a healthy discussion about how to take the project forward. So the topmost is the project.
Yeah.
That is the key. That is the bottom line, and that's what drives everybody in the office. So what happens is when somebody new comes to the office, or when we have the trainees coming in, this is the first statement which we make to everybody. The project is the boss, and we all have to work for the betterment of that with single-minded devotion.
Style per se, in fact, you're seeing a lot of fusion styles coming out. So there is modern classic fused with traditional values, traditional with all various kind of things. So it's basically it's not only to architecture, because the sensibilities have changed in terms of all design fields. So there is no particular style as such which we want to adhere to. But as the generalized theme, I can say that we are more on contemporary, simple, clean lines. When you say smart, I think it is an understanding of efficient infrastructure planning to begin with. And then second is going to be the education of people who live in it. Because you can give them whatever you want, but if they do not understand how to operate it or work on it, the city is not smart. For going a step forward, I think it is also a perception of how the city is gauged by a visitor who comes here and the resident. So I think the first and foremost is that you tackle the major streets. Every city has certain things which is of tourist attraction. So therefore it already had the built-in financials to it. So within that, you change that schematics, you try to understand an efficient planning, you try to work on satellite towns, and then integrate technology into it. I think that would make the city much more smarter, rather than just having systems inbuilt when nobody understands what they are. Yeah.
What a smart city would be is ease of living. When you get up, you want to commute, that should be ease. Then you want to communicate, be ease there. You want the food, you should be there. The climate, the weather, not the weather. Weather is something which we do not have. The climate that you build around yourself, the people, that one. Then anything else is there. Things have covered all. Ease of living is the most important thing. Then your mind. That's how it makes a body of people something totally different. I think then we can be called a smart people in a smart city. Then
Smart people in the smart city. Also, I think it has to start at the grassroots level, and it is more of a civic issue rather than a design issue. A smart city, exactly. So it has to be a bottoms-up approach, and it has to start from the citizen level.
If you're looking at today's smart architecture, which is glass and all the systems, and then you have the metro trams, and so let us say you are in Hong Kong, you are in Singapore, you are in New York, you are in any of the main cities. I think they all look the same. At one point, it's the same train station, it's the same glass building. And if you're sitting in some cafe,
you could be anywhere.
You can be anywhere.
Yeah.
So that is not something which we want. I mean, we definitely need to have a stamp or a culture,
some indicator or differentiator of our culture from anything else.
VBT has always employed people from fashion, people from sculpture background, people from graphic background, and they have been working in the company at various times and spaces. The reason being is that we personally feel that we need to understand that sensibility also, and sometimes we actually discuss design with them. We just put forward a problem saying that, okay, how do you work within this? What is your take on this project? Sometimes very interesting concepts have come. Sometimes very interesting ideation of space has come, which they will not be able to convert into a habitable environment, but we can see that. So I think as an architect, like I said, it's the higher platform. What fascinated me into architecture was that we could have a sensation of art and then convert into something very technical. Whereas all these factors are also very important. So therefore, actually VBT has something to do with graphics. VBT is going to very soon launch something in terms of furniture design, and we're also working on something in product design. So these are the arts things which we already are very sensitive to.
Nowadays, everybody recognizes the importance of interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary trends. So, again, I would like to say that at VBT, when I said earlier, we do a concept-based approach. So, we have taken inspiration from a lot of liberal arts. I would say even a piece of poetry could actually inspire us to come up with some kind of a spatial design. It could be a painting, it could be a sculpture. So, a lot of art, technology, or any other design philosophy, or even a life philosophy has actually been a very, very important part of the design process.
Actually, the sense of understanding of an architecture, I think that itself is lacking in the colleges today. What they're putting forward to a student, or maybe everything has become too casual, right from the fraternity to the student who is studying in it. And I wish that they spend little more time in terms of standing firm on their design ideologies. I see that is missing, because I think that is a lot to do with your social media, because it's very easy referencing. You take a reference and you immediately get stuck to something, and then you churn out your plan. However, without thinking that how it's going to be solved.
I would like to put it this way. I have been very closely associated with academics as well over the past many years, in a lot of schools and a lot of students. And I would like to say that there are two things. The positive is students today are a lot more well informed. Again, thanks to social media. The positives of social media, they're very well informed. So that actually opens up their mind to a lot of different ideas. So you need not be just focusing on only one, I wouldn't say focus also, I would say restricted to one line of thought. You can open up your mind, because at that age, you can open up your mind, and you must look at it as a learning experience. And the second thing regarding industry ready, I would take it, I would suggest another word for myself. I feel it's more like a career ready. Career ready could be anything for an architect. They could go into higher education, go into academics. They can work under somebody and as a project architect, take it forward. They could, maybe some of them even start their own practices. I think some of them started, pretty early, as soon as they graduate, right? So some amount of entrepreneurship development skills are very essential once the students graduate. And I think somehow that, of course, the syllabus of various universities, the syllabi they're trying to integrate these aspects into the syllabus itself. But I think a lot of faculty also today are taking a lot of trouble to ensure that the students get that practical side also in the academic studio.
So, piece of advice, I think, as an architect, if you're going to have, every architect's aim is to have their own practice. So, if that is your end goal, then you need to stay very confident, you need to stay very high on design, and you need to stay very informed about what's happening in the world. That would be my piece of advice to them. And it has to be a wholesome experience. You can't be just good in your design. You need to know everything. You need to know the administrative part of it. You need to know the design part of it. You need to know the construction point of view. All that is.
They have to develop their employability skills, also have to come to the fore. Best advice we can give students from all our experiences: be open to learning all your life.
Yeah.
That's all. That is the only way to handle architecture, I think.